the well-being of the employees, like you said earlier, is very important. And at Backfitter, we have a lot of tools. We give trainings on respects and civilities, and I know it's mandatory everywhere. But for us, and I don't think you can see the values, but all the values written on the walls are living every day, are being living by any employee every day. And if you don't respect one value, we're gonna sit and say, what's going on? You know?
Welcome to another episode of Reframe for Resilience. Our guest today is Ms. Isabelle Sénécal. She is from Canada. You will hear her French accent. And she is HR manager of Bath Fitter Company. Welcome, Ms. Sénécal.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, it's our pleasure. As I often ask our guests, can you share with us one or two episodes of challenges that you had in which you had to think differently, perhaps do things differently, what we call reframing?
So first, maybe I can share a little bit where I'm coming from. In elementary school and high school, I was bullied, and like a lot of kids back then, I'm 55, so I'm talking about early 80s, and I decided at one point it was enough. And then I was working part-time when I was studying in a small bakery, a grocery store, and the owner was, I would say, toxic, but it was in 1988. So back then, you just work and you shut your mouth, sorry for my words, and you work. And I decided, because it was making trying people, the other employees, the other part-time student like me. So I decided, talk to me, I will talk to them. And this is where I start realizing that, wow, I used to cry when he was doing that. I'm not anymore. So I guess this is some kind of resilience. And then I found out about industrial relation and HR while I was studying at the university. And it's been 30 years now that I'm working as an HR person. And in HR, you need to be resilient, because you can have compassion fatigue and emotional exhaustion because of the invisible load of HR. And then you need to be resilient to go through that. And what I use to be resilient is I use a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset. And I used to be more fixed mindset. It is what it is, and that's it. But now I realize that, no, I'm going to learn from that, bounce back, and go forward. And yeah, it's easier said than done. But you start with a little, like an elephant, you take a bite one at a time. So you do the same thing. And it's important to remember your value. I mean, whatever happens, it's temporary. So go back to, okay, it's temporary. What can I learn from this? How can I move on after? And it's thinking positively. Okay, of course, the 5 minutes you might cry, you might shout, you might turn into word and all that. But what is helping me is having a growth mindset into all those situations.
No, I like that. As a matter of fact, I was thinking, my mother used to tell me when I was a kid that she would say, always remember, people can do what they want to do to you when they want, how they want, but never for as long as they would like. And it was a way of her saying to me, no matter what the problem is, it never lasts forever. So, you know, you will be
She's
able
right.
to handle it. Yes. Now, as an HR manager, I'm quite sure, and you mentioned that actually at the very beginning, your own challenges from a manager's perspective, and you're having to have resilience because of the tough decisions you often have to make that involve people. Looking at it from the other side, namely employees coming to you with various problems, what types of advice do you give them to help them deal with their problems? Do you ever try to get them to look at the problem a bit differently, or?
Yes, I start with the advice your mother gave you. Everything is temporary. So now what you need now, right now, what do you need to feel better or to fix the situation? So we're going to work on that. And then after that, how can you move on and learn from that? And don't doubt about yourself and ask help and talk about it. And it's making time for emotional recovery, which is very important also. So distance yourself from the situation. Just, breathe, take a few minutes and come back after with a fresh mind. It's not always easy, but this is what I do for my own situation. And this is how I try to help employees when they come to me with various problems. Of course, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not, my bachelor's degree is industrial relations, but still I have some tools. I have the EAP program. I have a lot of things I can give them to reflect, but usually they bounce back, but they bounce back because they took the time. Because if you sweep that under the rug and you continue, it's going to get back to you one day. So if you go with the growth mindset, you take a step back and you ask for help. That's the first thing.
Yes, one of the things that really concern me is indeed the employee well-being, or I should simply say our well-being in the workplace. Uh, you know, and often that is overlooked. We don't recognize that stress does not only have emotional, mental, but also physical, can bring on physical illnesses. So it is so important what you're saying to get people to step back a bit, take a breath, and to realize that, yes, this too shall pass, they'll get over it. Now let's see what we do about that now. Now, do you interact with English speaking or just with French speaking employees?
Both, because we have a plant in Tennessee, and I work a lot with my colleagues over there, mostly by Teams or phone. But most of people are bilingual in Montreal. But I was most of us as our mother tongue is French, so that's why. But I used to work for Pfizer Canada. I used to work for Valero, which is gas and convenience stores. And we had people because in Quebec we speak French and English, but the rest of the Canada we speak English. So I have to speak both because we have people around the Canada, and we have remote workers from that they're working in other provinces for Badfitter Canada. So, but I need to practice more. Uh,
No, that's all right because I can't speak French. And your English is really very good. So I wouldn't.
well, thank you very much.
Uh, what are key uh, difference in approaches, or are there any differences you have to have when helping French background Canadians versus English background Canadians? Are there cultural differences you have to be conscious of?
Yes, yes. As well as we have, we are very proud here at Montreal plant, which is inside Eustache, but it's another thing. But it's near Montreal. We have people from different cultures, from different countries. So it's all different approach. And I like when I meet the person first, I'm asking this person how you want us to interact, how you feel comfortable, what's comfortable for you talking, and what behaviors are you comfortable with before we start. So the approach could be different because we don't always have the same cultural background or references. So when I get to understand, it's easier for me to help them. The well-being of the employees, like you said earlier, is very important. And at Badfitter, we have a lot of tools. We give trainings on respects and civilities, and I know it's mandatory everywhere. But for us, and I don't think you can see the values, but all the values written on the walls are living every day, are been living by any employee every day. And if you don't respect one value, we're gonna sit and say, what's going on? You know, we want to understand why and what it doesn't talk to you. But it's very respectful. And we have also, in Quebec, there's a mandatory training that you have to provide to the managers. It's new. It's called psychological, so, I don't understand English, risques psychosociaux, psychosocial risk. It's like mental health and risk of violence at work, violence at home, and all that. And we gave that training to the managers a few weeks ago, and it changed a lot how we interact with employees and how we are more open to what's going on. And some employees were talking about this is what we need to go on. And I feel that I saw some managers going through situation. I saw them bounce back, and I was very glad to see that training helped them.
So finally, would you tell me in your experience, what are one or two things that you find really helpful for the employees to help them strengthen their resilience?
First, sometimes they don't name things. They don't understand what's going on, and they don't acknowledge it. If you don't acknowledge it, you cannot move on, you know, you cannot try to work on something or find a solution. And I ask them, I tell them, speak up. What's going on? Tell me. Door is closed between you and I, so I can help you. And usually when we talk out loud, it's coming. Huh? It's a sound. It's like a sounding board, and it's coming. So I just guide the employee through what he's saying, and then if I have, I talked about the grow mindset. I'm sorry, I'm going to show it to you, but this is what I use with them. Sometimes I give it to them, and just think about this, and be open to what's going on. Accept that, and then after that, take a step back and don't doubt yourself and know your worth. And when I say know your worth, I'm sure that everyone saw that on I think it was LinkedIn or something. There's a bottle of water. Some place it's going to cost you $2, another place $3, another place $5. It's all the same bottle. So it should be all the same price. It's the same bottle, it's the same thing. So don't worry that people put $5 on you or $2 on you. You know your worth. You know you are the bottle of water, and you know your worth. So I think you have to start there, and you know, take a step back, and then what's going on. And like you said earlier, in 2, 3, 5 years, what will be the outcome of what you're living today? Will you remember that or not? Will this shape you for the future? Or the other thing is, how much of yesterday you want to drag tomorrow? Do you need to bring that tomorrow or not? And sometimes being resilient is just stop worrying about this and put it, you know, keep it like that, and go on.
Ms. Sénécal, thank you. Thank you very much for those words of wisdom. You know, I really like the concept of asking yourself, are you going to be taking that with you tomorrow? You know, I think it's a good question for one to ask oneself.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing the growth mindset with us.